In Britannia, time tokens are as common as salt. A fisherman in Moonglow might earn one for a long night on the water to buy a lid for a dye tub. A tamer in you might save them for months to finally afford a childhood mount. They pass from hand to hand as a reward for patience, a simple convenience that everyone understands. This flow of currency eventually leads to a narrow shop in the city of Britain, managed by a figure known only as the Keeper. He appears as an old man, though his face seems to shift depending on who looks at him. On some mornings, he is cheerful. On others, he stares at the tokens in his palm as if listening to something crying inside the gold. To the world, the arrangement is transparent. These tokens are proof of work, a harmless tool for trade. The citizens of Britannia carry them in their pockets, entirely unaware of the mechanism they are sustaining. The first evidence that these tokens were something else appeared in the vaults beneath a condemned dye house. Merrick Sable, a smuggler of illegal blades, watched a blind smith work in a room where the air itself felt wrong. The smith's apprentice didn't use coal. He took a file to a stack of time tokens and shaved them down into a fine metallic powder. When that dust touched the flame, the room seemed to hesitate. The fire didn't just burn, it warped and twisted away from the heat. The laws of physics began to fail in the forge. Candle smoke bent toward the floor. A hammer on the workbench trembled. From the walls came a sound like a long breath drawn through broken teeth. The resulting sword was beautiful, but it possessed no reflection and whispered when moved through the air. Merrick sold it to a bravo in Buccaneer's Den, who wanted an edge in a private feud. Within a week, the buyer was dead, not by the blade, but by lawful execution. The sword was seized and entered into evidence at Serpent's Hold. This weapon was no longer a tool of combat. It had become a contaminated artifact. It carried a corruption that defied the natural order of the realm, born from the destruction of common currency. The sword was locked inside a sealed iron chest at the prison of Serpent's Hold. It was meant to be static evidence, a dead man's estate waiting for processing. Sister Elira, the prison chaplain, discovered the chest was changing. Rust had formed on the inside of the seal without any exposure to rain. When she touched the lid, the metal felt feverish, not hot like a forge, but like the heat of skin over an infected wound. Elira and Warden Garrick Vale opened the chest at dusk. Frost had grown over the hinges in the heat of the room. The sword's edge had developed a hairline web of darkness, branching through the steel, moving like ink soaking through paper. Inside, a silver ring taken from the prisoner had cleanly cracked in half on its own, and from the sword came a soft, persistent ticking sound, not matching any prison clock. The artifact was actively deteriorating its environment. It was a pathogen in the form of a blade, signaling that whatever was inside the tokens was now leaking into the physical world. Warden Garrick had seen this decay before. He kept the prison ledgers with obsessive neatness and noticed a pattern the city ignored. The old stone sweated black moisture when the public writ boards were at their busiest. This chart shows Garrick's correlation. As time token trade volume spikes, regional stability collapses. When trading peaks, the land goes wrong. Crops fail, water turns to copper, and dogs refuse to cross thresholds where trade is heaviest. The anomalies weren't isolated accidents. The corruption was a direct byproduct of the massive volume of currency moving through the economy. The currency's nature was revealed when Lysa Ven found a relic in a dead grove. It was a mass of condensed dusk wrapped around an inner shine, a glow matching the exact shimmer of a time token. When she lifted it, the weight nearly broke her knees. It wasn't the heaviness of physical mass, but the weight of memory. For a moment, she felt the sheer, crushing scale of 10,000 evenings passing from 10,000 different hands. She felt specific, mundane moments, a mother watching her sick child, apprentices nodding off over their ledgers, and a man fishing at dawn. These spent hours were what composed the tokens. The currency wasn't gold or magic. It was the physical storage of human life and energy, harvested through the patience required to earn them. Lysa brought the relic back to her guild hall and set it on the stone floor. The impact was felt by every member of the guild, whether they were present or miles away. Some heard a bell, others heard a woman's voice, or the creak of a ship in a black harbor. The message that resonated through the hall was clear. A relic has been seeded. The hall remembers. And old right wakes beneath your name. The brazier in the hall flared blue, casting long shadows. Ink rose from the guild charter and began to write of its own accord. From deep beneath the floorboards came a hungry sound, like teeth meeting in the dark. By reuniting these gathered hours in a single place, Lysa had acted as a catalyst. The sound from the floor suggested that something long dormant beneath the world was finally beginning to respond to the concentration of energy. In Britain, the keeper lifted his head. He had been sorting tokens with the delicacy of a priest arranging bones. He didn't look surprised by the sound. He looked as if he finally recognized a long-awaited signal. He stood by his window, his reflection in the glass lagging a moment behind his physical body. As he watched the horizon, his reflection began to smile. The entire economy was a parasitic system designed to harvest the life force of the realm. By hoarding and trading these tokens, the citizens were unknowingly gathering the energy required to feed the horror waking beneath their feet. The feeding had quickened. On the counter, neat stacks of physical tokens began to vanish, dropping through cracks too thin for the eye to follow. Every merchant, tamer, and fisherman who participated in this trade had contributed to the harvest. Across Britannia, people are still reaching into their pockets, carrying pieces of the monster's mouth directly into their homes.